Assalomu alaykum hurmatli talabalar. Bugun sizlar bilan O'zbekiston Milliy universiteti xorijiy filologiya fakulteti ingliz filologiyasi kafedrasi o'qituvchisi Jabbor va Nozma Kamoliddinovna boshlang'ich sinflarda chet tili o'qitish metodikasi fanidan ma'ruzamni boshlayman. Let's start the lecture in English language. Material designing in primary education. There is an email address. You may send your questions about my lecture. The plan for today's lecture: what are the teaching materials could be answered during the lecture, the role of the materials in designing. We will look through the examples of some sample materials and discuss the topic like advantages and disadvantages of the designing materials. Answer please to the question, what do you think? What are the teaching materials? Teaching materials are the materials which the teacher can use to help students to learn foreign language through the visual or audio perception. This kind of materials could be the helpful tool during the learning and achieving the goal of educational practical aim of the lesson. Materials can be the informative, informing the learner about the target language. Materials can be the instructional, guiding the learner practicing the language, and it could be eliciting, encouraging the learner to use the language. At the same time, materials can be anything in linguistic, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic forms that are used to facilitate the teaching and learning process. You know that our primary education learners are the kinesthetic learners. Why is it important designing materials? It's very important because it helps teachers to boost their confidence as well as being the positive and empowering experience of teacher autonomy. They provide opportunity for teachers to explore and learn new information which takes the shape in the form of the tasks. The role of the materials during the lesson. It could be the source of activity for learners to practice communicative interaction. It would be very supportive to the less experienced teachers. It's a source of simulation and ideas for classroom activities. Without stopping, you can conduct the lesson if you have the best designed materials. Questions to ask when designing materials. Try to ask yourself, can I achieve my goal with these designed materials? Will the materials stimulate and motivate my pupils? To what extent will the material support the learning process? Good and effective teaching materials should arouse and keep the learner's interest and attention, and provide the meaningful activities, and provide examples of language use. And they should be achieve the impact, encourage learners' involvement, take into account that learners have the different learning styles. I will mention again, our primary education learners are kinesthetic learners. It fosters learning autonomy, promotes the use of the language, and provides the learners with opportunities to achieve communicative purpose. Materials should be designed with these objectives. You should have the main objective like motivating students to learn vocabulary or grammar. You should motivating students to interact with the learning materials peers and discuss topics with teachers, encouraging students to involve themselves in different tasks. Factors that consider when designing materials. Pay attention to the learner's needs. Any consideration to design materials must begin with the student's needs. If your learners are kinesthetic learners, try to prepare visual materials or kinesthetic materials which they can touch. If they are auditory learners, prepare or design the materials for them. Resources and facilities. Teacher must be realistic about what they can achieve in terms of materials design and production within the limitations of the available resources and facilities. Personal confidence and competence. It will be influenced by teacher's level of teaching experience and her perceived creativity or artistic skills and overall understanding of principles of materials design and production. Guidelines for designing effective English teaching materials. First of all, materials should be contextualized. Secondly, materials should stimulate interaction and be generative in terms of the language. Materials should encourage learner to develop learning skills and the learning strategies. These materials should offer opportunities for integrated language use. Teaching materials should be authentic, taken from real life. English language teaching materials should be attractive, colorful, and interesting. English language teaching materials should have the appropriate instruction. Giving instruction plays a main role in preparing designing materials. Because if you have the good instruction to your materials, students can easily understand. It's just a helpful tool for doing the tasks. There are some examples of the materials that you can design yourself. Flashcards. In primary education, we will start from the ABC, and in the second and third classes, you may write some words with definition, or you can cut the magazine pictures and create some colorful handouts for them. Wall charts also very helpful too for decorating the classroom. Puppets also can be useful in your lessons. I usually use to showing the lesson. I can just introduce my topic with the help of my friend. They're a very helpful tool. I can retell the story or song or fairy tale with the toys. Next lesson will be about toys that teach the foreign language. And posters also can be very useful to your classroom. And these posters can be created by the pupils or students. Newspaper articles. Now let's discuss the last question, advantages and disadvantages of the designing materials. While you are designing materials, you should just create the materials which is very memorable and empowering. Positive effect on learners' motivation. It should encourage critical evaluation of teaching materials. And disadvantages of designing materials. Of course, it takes too much time preparing, cutting, and just doing some material. Organization. Materials may lack overall coherence and clear progression. Quality. They may contain errors by poorly constructed and lack of durability. Sometimes quickly at night you will prepare or design some material, you will take to school, and you will feel yourself just not confident because you have some mistakes in your designed material. Okay, let's make conclusion. This is a reference, and the most interesting book from this list, it's a Tomlinson's Material Development Language Teaching. And other sources also helpful to you, just try to look through. If we sum up the lecture, what should the teacher keep in mind when choosing and designing materials? Try to know who your pupils are. Try to know the ability levels, age, and backgrounds of your pupils, their interests, attention, and spans, ability to work together in groups, prior knowledge and learning experience, special needs or accommodations and learning preferences. As a last, I can say that try to create unusual, design the material which are helpful and interesting and which gives the joy to your class. Thank you for your attention. This is the end of the lecture. This is a mail. If you have any questions, you are always welcome. I'll try to answer them.